if I pay for the beat, I don't got to give you nothing other than that and maybe credit. So he's being generous, even, because there are producers out there like, I just want the credit. Well, he might give it to you. He might give you a little crumb. Speaking of being a boss and being independent, Dame, you want to talk about this whole crowd surf thing. So this is effectively now an investment platform, but instead of investing in companies, you're investing in individual artists, correct?
Yeah, because there's a bunch of creative financing. Artists are trying to find new ways to get investment, to get money. This is a version. I guess it's fairly new. It's a company called CrowdSurf. Essentially, what you can do is invest in a creator. It shows you how much they're trying to raise. It shows you. It's kind of like investing in stock, right? So it's saying over the course of the next 10 years, they're going to pay out 10% of their earnings to their investors. So you can invest now. And as you can see, this guy, what's his name? Sean, what is his name? Sean
Hansen.
Sean Hansen. It shows you what there's just so many. Here's the thing, I'm going to separate the two types of investors. If you're just a fan of this guy and you want to support and you're not really looking to get a return, then support him in more of like a crowdfunding way. However, if you are looking at this as an investment, like there are so many questions that I have about, because I clicked around and it looks like this guy, he has a pretty big following on YouTube, but it's all shorts. Like all he posts is shorts. And from my experience, shorts don't really monetize like that. So even these projections, it's saying, hey, I think he made like 55,000 last year, but why is there even 100 million on the projection? Like why, like this cat is not going to, maybe he will. Maybe he's the one in 100 million that does make $100 million. But like to even put that on the graph to say, if he makes $100 million, this is the distribution per share over 10 years. Like, he's on to, and we've seen like, if you just made 55,000, like it's really hard to make that jump. Cause I know Erinn manages a lot of creators in that range. Right. So to even jump up to that next level, which would probably be like 500,000, $1 million a year is tough. It's really tough. And then I have other questions around like if I was a serious investor, how do I make sure that this money's flowing through to me? Because they're talking about like everything, brand deals, even companies he says he's going to be a part of or might be an investor in. Like how are we tracking this money to truly get paid out my dividends on my shares of this going forward? It really just seems, I'm not going to use the word scam, but there are so many ways that this could not go right. And I've seen so many creators just give up. Like what's going to stop this guy if he raises 120,000? What if he just takes the 120,000 and just says, oh man, I got tired of creating. I wasn't built for it. Social media was too much. These algorithms are the devil, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then he just throws in the towel. I've seen that many times. So again, if you're just investing in this guy because you're a fan and you love his content, you're not expecting anything, then boom, go ahead. But if you're really looking at this from an investment standpoint, this is again where I think that artists are trying to take advantage is maybe too strong, but like this is clearly way more beneficial to the artist than any potential return that investor might get from this, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a big risk because I think there are probably more contingencies with creators, like you said, Dame, because they're an individual person. They're not a company with a corporate structure where there are checks and balances. You're right. The individual creator could at any point just throw in the towel and everything goes to hell. At least with a company, there can be an exchange of power, roles can shift, and the company survives. Yeah, this is I don't know how I feel about it.
I mean,
Honestly.
we currently have on the table a way of, because so for Big Jaw's feature film that we're going to shoot this year, we're currently having conversations on how we want to fund it. Everything from self funding to getting partners involved. But one of the options is creating, because the feature film will have like its own company, so it will allow people to invest in the film, but it's just a one-off film. It's not like you're not investing in Jaws brand deals, any touring or anything like that. So to me, it's like, hey, we're creating this film. We're raising the X amount of money. You're going to get a 20% return on this film. To me, it's a one-off thing. I'm not looking 10 years out. 10 years, like anything can change with a creator. There's very few creators that I know are still like doing this 10 years ago. Like most artists that I know 10 years ago are not still making music or creating anything. They're realtors.
Well, let me show you something.
There's plumbers. There's all kind of different.
So this is an example, not anything that was facilitated, I don't think, by CrowdSurf, but it's an example that CrowdSurf posted to their Instagram. So this Russian creator, she's an EFL instructor. I believe her content is English learning. And she received 1.7 million in exchange for 5% of revenue and IP generated. I mean, 30 years is a long period. 30 years is a hell of a long period. That's a crazy term. But $1.7 million is a lot. Now, granted, this woman has an exceptional following. She is at nearly 10 million YouTube subscribers, which means, 5% of revenue generated over 30 years is significant, right? This still seems like a lot. I just don't know if venture capital firms would invest that kind of money if they weren't going to get a return, if they hadn't done the proper due diligence, right?
Yes, they are.
But here's the biggest, to me, having worked with a lot of creators, at her stage, she doesn't even need, why even do this if it wasn't kind of a scam? Like, why even, if you got 10 million YouTube followers or subscribers, you have a healthy business. What's the point of even doing this?
Well, I'll challenge this, Dame, because it's the same concept, I feel, as taking a record deal or a publishing deal. So when you take a publishing deal, right, say you're getting $100,000 for a publishing deal, they're taking essentially control over half of your revenue from the underlying composition copyright, and then paying and recouping that against your advance, and then they're generating money for a term. It might be 5 years, it might be 3 years, whatever the case is. They've done their due diligence, but you as the person who owns that is giving up future royalties to this company in exchange for an advance. So why do that? I think it's a similar concept. If I'm getting 1.7 million for only 5%, that seems like a pretty good payout. I mean, granted, it's over 30 years, but who knows what can happen in 30 years? I'm getting 1.7 million now. I might already be a millionaire, and I'm sure she is, because she also has an app, I believe, a language learning app, in addition to nearly 10 million YouTube subscribers, which means she's generated likely millions of dollars off her YouTube.
But that's my point. That lets me know that this is not, to me, that would be a red flag to me as an investor, because I'm like, you already got this money. You just made this money last year. Why would you even do this? It's kind of, I don't want to bring up his name, but there's an artist doing something similar right now. It's got to be way more advantageous to the artist than it is for any investor, or you wouldn't be doing this. To me, if you're doing feature film stuff, that's separate, because an artist doesn't need to create a feature film. Like, to me, an artist needs to bootstrap. There's nothing major that you really need to put like 250, 500 grand into, in my opinion, right? Until you're at a point where you can probably self-fund that. Like, to me, a feature film is different. Like, a feature film costs a shitload of money, right? And it's just, it's totally different than rolling out an album. So if you're in that world, I kind of understand it. But even this young lady that you just pulled up, I went to her YouTube. Maybe she has several YouTubes, because the one I just went to has 2 million, not 10 million. But if you're making millions of dollars, why would you give away, 5% for it? The math just doesn't make sense to me for that. Like, if you just want to be a fan and donate, you just want to be a part of this experience, I get it. That's cool. But it's not a real investment. It's definitely way more advantageous to the creator.
Well, I can see, if you're just asking fans to put in $50 to $100, that's different from a venture capital company giving you 1.7 million. Because 1.7 million, you could, one, you're getting it immediately, and two, that's life-changing money. I don't know what her professional goals are. She could purchase another company with 1.7. She could do a lot with 1.7, given the fact that she's getting it right away and not having to wait for it to accumulate via her various revenue streams.
Wait, so my bad. She got that from a VC firm? I totally
no, that wasn't crowdfunded. That's why I was like, damn, why are you going so hard on this woman? I think that was a smart move for her.
But CrowdSurf, because I saw the post, it was CrowdSurf. I thought she did the same thing.
No, CrowdSurf was using that story as kind of like a market indicator.
Oh, okay. Well, if you get money from a VC firm and it's a bad deal for them, I don't care. Take advantage of the VC firms. Like, them, they can go to hell, whatever.
That's what I was saying. Like, they would definitely spend the bread on something that doesn't make sense. Like, I have made some money in the last 6 months consulting for multiple, and it's like short consultations. Sometimes it's like a few calls. Sometimes it's just the longest I've done is a month, right? And I just started working with another one. But these fintech companies, they are like, they'll get $1.9 billion invested into them. And you look into the company, and this dude used to have some sort of NFT company that got bought by this person. And then you look even deeper, and this dude's dad owns some financial investment firm, or his roommate who he went to Harvard with, his uncle is you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even worth your time to be upset at these VCs, it's not a hot take, but looking at CrowdSurf, it doesn't make sense because they don't even have great SEO. There's 3 other companies that come up when you Google CrowdSurf, right? In addition to that, the face of the company is the owner of the company, which always makes me leery because he's presenting himself as a creator that's investable, but he's starting the company. And this to me is like the thought process when people are like, oh, I make so much money in the stock exchange or in whatever, buy my course. If you were making so much money, and not to say that you can't, because we're clearly on this podcast teaching about our experience. I'm not saying you can't teach if you're making.
We're not making money though, just to be clear.
But I'm saying you can though. You don't say, okay, like Ray Daniels does make money from his podcast for sure, because they do sponsorships, all sorts of stuff. But is also a very legitimate record industry executive still. Like, not has been, but still very current, very relevant, moving things behind the scenes. So I'm not saying if you're teaching about it that you're automatically a fraud. But I think that when people are offering these courses and saying this is how they make their money, a lot of times they're making more off the courses than they are off the actual thing that they're teaching about. I was listening to a chick's podcast like at 2:00 this morning, and she said she made her first $100,000 in the stock market 9 months after she started investing in it, and then started a mentorship course. And all this different stuff. And I was like, whoa, because she's so young. And I was wondering how she got to where she is. And she's a multimillionaire. And she was like, yeah, I make more off my course than I ever made in the stock market. And I was blown away because how I got introduced to her, I'm not like, on the internet, was because she's like, oh, she's this mogul stock market. She's a kid genius or whatever, because she's like 23 now. And I was like, damn, like even the ones that you thought were like doing the right thing. But no, it's just like the course, right? So that's what I feel like this is. Dude only made $55,000 last year off of his creation, but now has this company that he's building and scaling and no doubt looking for investments in. So this is.
Oh, wait a minute, Erinn, sorry. So the Sean Hansen dude is the owner?
Yes.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, okay. That colors my perception.
Yeah. Yes. Sean Hansen is the founder, CEO, head of CrowdSurf. So it's like, so for me, I'm not trying to say it's a scam either, but it looks like a scam, walks like a scam, smells like a scam. Like, this is for me the problem. And you can go back and look at some of our videos. I think it was 21 or 22, probably 21, when NFTs were all the rage. I was like, I wouldn't mind turning myself into an NFT. I said it on 1 or 2 episodes. I said I could see people investing in me this year against future royalties and money that I make, maybe over the next 10 years. And Dame, to answer your question about how do people know, I'm assuming he has to aggregate all his money into a business account. CrowdSurf is .xyz, so they're on the blockchain. So I'm assuming it's a smart wallet transaction, and all his money income is probably going into a business account, like,
but artists have a tendency to get into an agreement, and then at some point they're like, I feel like I'm putting too much money into this account. Let me open up this side account, because they only invested XYZ, so that damn the agreement, I feel like they've gotten enough, so let me start diverting some funds over to this other
I'm with you. I'm just saying fundamentally it doesn't have to be a scam, because if I were to do it, when I was saying it proverbially back then, that's what I would have done. I would have done a smart contract. It would have been all on blockchain, so you can see every time money comes in, what the source is, and then what your percentage is. But I was speaking in plain language as somebody who's like, this would be a high risk investment, but potentially high yield across a certain amount of time. And then we could set the terms per investor, so maybe you're like, I just want my money back over the next 3 years. Or maybe you're like, I just want to see what I can make over the next 10, what I'm saying? There would be a statute of limitation. The reason for me that I thought that it would work though, is because I have proof of concept in multiple industries. I've made 6 figures in multiple industries. Most of it is in music or music adjacent things, but like I've done it in film. Most people don't know that I have an award-winning short film that I produced. I've done it. Now I'm moving into culinary stuff. My next step is I really want to move into more like streetwear and fashion stuff, and I've dabbled in that a little bit. But it's like, for me, if I'm looking as a novice investor, I'm a very new to the investment game, and I know, Dane, this is your wheelhouse, so please feel free to comment. I think that it's okay to diversify, especially when you're younger or you have more money to play with, in high risk investments that you think could potentially be high yield. But there's no proof of concept when you're looking at, to me, an artist of longevity. Like when I invest in the stock market, on average, the stock market, they say, makes 8% every single year. Since the beginning of time, since the stock market started, on average, it makes 8%, right? So that you, at very least, if you put $100,000 in over the next 10 years, on average, you're gonna at least get 8% back on that. If you're investing in a restaurant, typically you're investing in the restaurant owner, and you're looking at what they've brought to the table prior to this. It's like there's other things that you can calculate. Like Dame said, I don't know any artists that have been around for 10 years, much less. And then, I know a few, but most of them have only been making money 5 or 6 years. And then again, going back to what Dame said about the jump, I have helped several artists go from nothing to 100,000, or from like 30 or 40,000 to like 150, 160. When I tell you getting to $200,000 with an artist is one of the hardest things and one of the main reasons that I got out of management, because they're insufferable once they make six figures and can afford to live a little bit, like just a smidge, insufferable. And then they think that they're God's gift to earth. If they didn't already think that, this empowers them. So now the way that they work is solely based on ego and acquisition of more accolades. When I tell you, I've seen people who make real money do things for clout that I'm astonished by. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like there's this mental hump that you have to get over. Or when you start to really make money, especially YouTubers, I love YouTube. I watch YouTubers more than TV. They all go to this after about 3 years of being successful. My mental health is suffering. I stopped wanting to be a fixture in your life every day. You don't really know me, but y'all are commenting on my life. And then they go ghost. And then they come back a year later because they are broke and they need your money. And then they talk about the revamp that they experienced as they frolicked through LA with the money that they made from you on YouTube. You know, it's just like this shit is cyclical. If you can't prove that you're a good investment in multiple industries, for me, I don't want to invest in a person. I think that I'm a winning investment regardless. I think I'm a guaranteed success story. But I also, like, that's self-belief, but I also have proof of where that matters. Do you know what I'm saying? So this just seems scammy, sketchy. It seems like a really intricate Ponzi scheme where you're at the top and you're convincing people to invest a high dollar amount against a long period of time for the hope that they'll forget they invested that money in 5 years and not come calling for it.
Yeah. So I think what it comes down to is if you give an artist a chance to place a valuation on themselves, like it's going to be a ridiculous valuation that nobody else would support. And I just don't come from that world. Like typically when a company gets valued, you're looking at existing cash flows, you're looking at comparables, things like that. But an artist will just pull a value out of their ass. They'll be like, oh, I'm for sure going to be working with Dr. Dre next year. So that's another 250,000 added to the valuation. And I'm for sure going to be selling out, Madison Square Garden in the next 5 or 6 years. So we have to take that into account. Like there's nothing really based in facts. You're really just pulling it out of your ass. A lot of companies actually do this on that Start Engine site. That Start Engine site where they get you to invest. Fanbase being one of them, they've raised a shitload of money and they have a valuation on there. I'm like, how is this valuation supported? Like, maybe it is, but it's not with the information that's on the site.
I feel like they have more investors than platform users. I don't think everybody who invested in them is even on the platform.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to. Fan base is a whole other conversation. I want fan base to win. There's a lot of things that
I want it to win, but you can't be scamming people and lying about numbers and thinking that pragmatic people are gonna really support that. Your business model is to go after the ignorant and tell them that Black wealth is near.
Yeah, and then have an app that is just subpar. Like anyway, but the valuation piece. And my apologies for not catching that 1.5 or whatever was from the VC firm. Because if you get a chance to get an investment from a VC firm for only 5%, I would take that every time. My concern is like when artists sell this to fans and fans really think that they're investing, right? Again, separate from the fan that just wants to support, is like, hey, whatever, this is not an investment for me. I just want to support this person because I love what they do. I'm talking about the people that actually think that they're going to get a return on their investment, but you just pulled this, $8 million valuation out of your ass.
Well, who is that? Because I can understand that mentality in the Web3 space when everyone was just inflating values and then dumping. That kind of makes more sense in context, but we're not talking about Web3. We're talking about Web2. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about YouTube fans. So who is the target here? It's got to be fans. It's not savvy investors. It's not people from the financial industry. And it's certainly not high risk investors either. It's $50 here, $100 there. It's basically like Patreon with the potential for a return. So I don't know if that makes it more effective or less effective as a model for an entire business based on, casual investors who maybe don't really know anything. I can see how it would be appealing, but yeah, it goes back to the comparables. If you say, all right, look, the creative industry is set to hit billions, by the end of the year, and look at Mr. Beast, he's made billions, but this is how much he generates. Well, cool, but if you just uploaded your first video this morning, you can compare yourself to Mr. Beast too, because you're using the same platform. And that's, I think, the problem with, projecting what a person is going to make based on what other people in the city, because we could do that with music too. Drake just got a $400 million deal. I have 3 monthly listeners, but I'm projected to make 400 million because of Drake. It just doesn't work that way.
I would just encourage artists, like a lot of times you're looking for investment. You don't really need it. You can bootstrap your way and just continue to invest incrementally in yourself, right? You run some ads, you get some money from that, you run some more ad and just continue to invest into your business. You got to have the patience. You got to have the patience for it, because when you start looking for investment, I haven't really seen an artist that properly, there's a few that properly value where they're at. You're typically putting things into the valuation that you're nowhere near. And it's going to be tough unless you just find somebody that has a shitload of money. If you luck up and just find somebody that has a shitload of money that's just excited about being in the music industry and not really tripping on actually getting a return, then, that's a lucky place for an artist to be in. But until you find that, I would just...
very dangerous. I've experienced that 2 different times where investors invested in artists. And as soon as they did, I got asked, are those artists doing anything right now? Where's that investor's money? But I got asked. Here I am on the podcast, still talking about the music industry, still full time over here. So yeah, I think that's dangerous. You say it's lucky for artists, but I think it can derail them too. Because again, your ego. Yeah, I got this investor. He gave me $150,000. And you end up either blowing the money on stupid shit because you have no idea about the music industry. So you don't even go live a lavish lifestyle. You're paying for the wrong stuff because you don't know how it works. Or you go live a lavish lifestyle and go shoot a music video in Colombia and then, live in Nicaragua for a year and come back and you're like, yo, I got to go back to Brazil next week, but I need another reinvestment. And, and this is pretty much a true story I'm talking about right now. And now you're living in Miami.
That was hella specific. I was like,
because I had a reggaeton artist who did it. And he's still posting about, a song got 100,000 streams. I'm like, bro, you turn 40 next year. Sheesh. You know what I'm saying? 100,000 streams respectfully is not paying for your daughter's food, much less tuition.
You invested in $1 a stream. Basically.
Speaking of splits, let me end on this topic, because splits ultimately are equity. So everything we're talking about in terms of equity in businesses applies to splits in a conceptual way, because a split is just equity among creators who have created a song. Sometimes it's not even among creators. Sometimes managers get a piece, whatever. But there is this aversion to splitting in the music business that I will never understand, because the music business is based on splits. People don't make money in the music business without some form of equity in the form of splits. So I don't even remember why I got flooded with these tweets, but just going to show you two, and then I want to talk about the solution to this. I guess this person is an engineer, and they call their studio Slave Studios, which I think is fitting based on what they're about to say. They say, this is the first thing I discuss with people before I even power up the mixing desk. Let's see, that's how a boss talks. You want to buy or you want to co-op? Now, these are terms that this person just made up, because you can buy a non-exclusive license and a co-op. I don't know. I think of like the place that my parents bought granola in the 80s. Costs, those are two very different deals. I do think this is the part that I want to focus on. I do think asking for a price on the beat and a split is just greedy bullshit. So in other words, you don't know how the music business works at all.
Wait, hold on, Peyton. Is this even a person? The username is like the ended with hella.
Why is their name Slave?
Yeah.
You think a bot wrote this stupid shit, Dame?
It's possible. There's a lot of hey, bots are responding.
All right.
Hey, bots are responding to people. Like you don't even like. There's, I'd be clicking on people's profiles now before I even respond. I'd be like, look, I'm not even gonna, because there are bots like actually writing sentences to people.
There are. Okay, this guy is not a bot. He actually threatened to fight me. I mean, I guess a bot could. I when you stop talking to people, like your man that jumped into your DMs and was like, I'm going to beat your ass when I see you or whatever. And then like 2 weeks later was like, hey man, can we work? I think we got on the wrong foot. Similar situation here. But this is a pervasive narrative out there. Don't give splits. And this gentleman, I'm not going to show his name. He has millions and millions of streams. Yeah, I'm lying. He has like 100 monthly listeners, but it's usually the people with the very little potential to make money that are concerned about these things. What he's saying, he's echoing the other guy, the slave dude's statement, and saying, if I pay for the beat, I don't got to give you nothing other than that and maybe credit. So he's being generous, even because there are producers out there like, I just want the credit. Well, he might give it to you. He might give you a little crumb. But he posted all of this. I don't know what this is. He says it was from a lawyer or something, like a lawyer who can't spell. This is the weirdest. This is one of the weirdest things, which is saying a lot, that I've ever read about the music business. So a lot of this is just convoluted and not even correct. It's just weird. It's like he's teaching this artist how to be a piece of shit. You're in control. He is at your mercy. You sit down at the computer and register everything. If he wanted to do it right, he would. If he wanted it right, he would do it. Don't let a producer bully you into doing something for him. So he's saying producers are bullies for asking you to properly register your beat and give them equity, which is hilarious because all a producer has to do if the artist isn't giving them a split is register it themselves on their own with their PRO and create a conflict. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. So it comes down to this idea that splits are somehow this terrible thing. And the people who say splits are greedy are either the biggest morons or the biggest manipulators. Either way, they're morons because they have no idea how intellectual property law works. Because without splits, actual musicians in the music business would forever be broke. We're talking about generational wealth. That comes from splits. That comes from royalties. At a certain point, that becomes passive income. And that's the source of your wealth. If the people are being manipulative, it's because they're trying to lie to people to convince them that splits are greedy, even though they themselves would never accept a deal without equity. And then they make, especially producers, they make producers feel greedy for asking for a percentage for any kind of split. When we're when we are legally entitled to equity in something that we created based on copyright law. Either way, do you want to work with someone who's moronic or manipulative? No, you don't. Now, to me, there's a very clear solution here, but I need all distributors to get on board with this. And I'm going to be optimistic here. And say, yeah, they should, because it would be a very helpful feature. It would make life easier for artists, especially today in the days of beat leasing. So when someone uploads a song to a distributor, the distributor just has to ask, because distributors ask all these questions about the song. They ask for the metadata. They ask for co-writers. They ask for all this. All you have to do is ask, is the beat leased or was it purchased exclusively? Then have them enter the price they paid for the beat. And then input the percentage of the sound recording royalties that the producer is receiving. Might be 3%, might be 20%, might be 50%, might be, who knows, right? But it will automatically calculate the recoupment, and then you're done. You don't have to deal with accounting. You don't have to deal with arguing with the producer, nothing. You just put that in, you recoup, and now no longer can you as an artist complain that I'm getting paid before you're getting paid. No longer do you have the excuse that you're taking money out of my pocket before I even made any. You can no longer complain you're getting paid twice. It's out. I mean, we could do this right now, but people just don't want to do it because, again, they're either moronic or manipulative.
Pain, this is why the guy was coming for me, is because he was claiming that my artist was getting paid, and because he was signed to my label, I was getting all this money. And it's like, yo, we took a deal, so we have to recoup this money. We disclosed that to you and offered you double the points and an immediate split after recoupment. No waiting till... And he was like, I don't remember agreeing to that. Y'all are stealing from me. And I get what you're saying, because it's like this guy is claiming, he's trying to make a claim that you can't get both. I just think that there's so many ways to split a deal. So if you say, I don't like to give this, but I want to get it, just put that out there. But it's like, it's, you know, so I don't think it's exactly the same, but I think it's related, where it's like producers will speak out of both sides of their mouth. And so I do agree, if distributors had a place where it could be like, okay, they got $1,000 for the song from their label or whatever. They spent $250 on you and X, Y, and Z. So after this, you get your 5 points plus, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I
would love it if the majors did that, because then I could just log into my portal. They make us sign up for these dumbass portals. And ultimately, when we get through this whole, it's like a 10-step process. If you get a major placement, you get into the portal of one of the big 3 major labels, and there's a fucking PDF document in there. You could have just emailed me that shit. I didn't need to sign up for this portal. So why does the portal not have advanced recoupment data? Why doesn't it show exactly what is being spent on this project? Someone's calculating that shit somewhere. I don't have access to it. I got to spend thousands to get a forensic attorney to look into that. And by the time I've already spent that money, whatever I'm getting back becomes less significant, unless you're like Big Sean and he did that and he had like $20 million sitting around, or whatever that story was way back. It's not happening to the average beat maker. So why not just put that in the portal? And more than likely, this is not going to happen because they don't want transparency. But the distributors, the smaller distributors, could easily do that.
So, I mean, it's actually being rolled out fairly soon I don't say soon, maybe in the next few months. Not in terms of like, can you identify if this was a lease or an exclusive, but just the just being able to recoup. So it's advanced splits. So you'll be able to recoup a certain amount before you start splitting payments on a song or an album. Or you can actually do it the opposite way. I can't think of a reason why you would do this, but like if you wanted to pay somebody up to a certain amount, you'll be able to do that too. You'd be able to say, hey, I want to pay this person $500. And then after that, it stops. And then, the money just flows to whoever else needs to. So that anyway. Well,
I mean, I think there can be any number of arrangements. If you only want $500 for the beat, then this is a great way to do it. And, especially if you're a newer producer and you just want to build a relationship with that artist, all right, set the threshold at 500. If that's how you're getting your peace of mind, that's how you're getting it.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, we're working on that. There's a few that's one of the bigger releases in hopefully the next 2 or 3 months, but we have a few others. We just implemented a fan blast tool too, because when you use your smart link to capture emails, we obviously have that information. You'll be able to send out emails directly from your distributor or directly through Too Lost. So there's a lot of stuff coming, but hopefully the advanced splits solves some of these split problems.
Yeah, I just want that normalized across the board, because just to conclude, what I don't understand is why these people are so violently against splits and they're not even making money. What are you defending your equity in zero for? What? I don't understand it. So people are stabbing each other in the back and putting it out there that they're going to stab you in the back publicly over 100% of $0. And burning bridges and engaging in immorality, and they're not even getting anything for it. It doesn't add up. But that's what is, like I said, that, the people speaking on this are not artists that are, check their stats, just like what DJ Z said, randomly sample a group of artists and see what their strategies are. And you'll see that their streams are low. You'll see that they're not consistent. Why are they the ones that are fighting the most? Once you get to a certain level, people are
because they're angsty. They're not making the bread. Like, that's what it is. They just is angst. So they're just putting it into BS because, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see distributors actually implement this. So if you want to sign up to 2 Lost now to get in on these features that they're constantly rolling out, you can do so for free for 3 months, unlimited uploads, upload all your music, upload all your beats, everything in that 3-month period. www.2lost.com. Use the code @odds, ATODDS, for 3 free months, and let us know what you think. But don't send us tech support. So we'll send them to Dame, because Erinn and I don't even work there. At least Dame can forward it to someone. And I think earlier he said he was.
No,
Dame doesn't have time to do that. He's going to ignore it.
Dame is now, I think, aren't you like the VP of tech support over there?
No, not unless I know you personally. I will be ignoring your DMs.
Okay, don't DM Dame. Just go to 2lost.com/support.
Yeah,
that's how you get it. All right, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Peace.